Today we have my very first new look rebuild here on Madden 23 following the NFL draft, and today we're going to be using the Detroit Lions. Now the Lions had a pretty controversial first round, taking running back Jahmyr Gibbs with the number 12 overall pick. We're going to try to make him the starter. The CPU is probably going to put David Montgomery right back in there, and then on defense they took Jack Campbell with the 18th overall pick. They also drafted quarterback Hendon Hooker, but you can't use his real name in Madden because it deems it a slur. You'll also notice that I made Hooker, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jack Campbell all star dev traits because they are supposed to be the center point of this video. Because this is supposed to be centered around those players, I know Hendon Hooker probably is not going to be healthy for the regular season in real life, but we're going to pretend that he will be by trading quarterback Jared Goff so we can roll with Hendon Hooker his entire rookie season. And we're going to send Jared Goff to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a third round pick. I probably could have got a little bit more for him in Madden, but I didn't want this to be completely unrealistic by getting a first round pick for him because I don't really think he would pull that anymore. I am now simulating season 1 of this rebuild. The way I do rebuilds though is I give myself 3 seasons to try to win a Super Bowl. Is that a short amount of time using a rookie quarterback? Absolutely, but we're still going to try it. Well, at the end of the first season, we've managed to go 10-7, get into the playoffs as a wild card team. We finished with the number 1 offense in the league and the number 12 defense. Apparently, Hendon Hooker played pretty well. Yeah, I would definitely say he played pretty well. 5,400 yards, 44 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Running the ball, David Montgomery ran for over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs got 4 touchdowns. Our fullback ran in for 5. Receiving, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 112 receptions, 1,400 yards and 11 touchdowns. Marvin Jones caught 7, Jameson Williams caught 11, and rookie tight end Sam Laporta caught 10. So yeah, we did pretty well on offense. On defense, looks like Alex Anzalone leads the team in tackles with 125. Sacks goes to Alim McNeil, I hope I said his name right, 7 sacks. Aiden Hutchinson only got 5. Interceptions, Kirby Joseph led the team with 3. Hendon Hooker actually ended up leading the league in passing yards as a rookie. In touchdowns, that also goes to Hendon Hooker. He tied with Jacoby Brissett in Washington. Interceptions goes to Justin Herbert, who threw 19. Running the ball, Jonathan Taylor ran for 1,700 yards and 26 touchdowns. And receiving, Cooper Kupp, as he always does in simulation, put up monster numbers, 115 catches, 1,600 yards, and 14 touchdowns. In the wildcard round, we get to take on the defending NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles. We are currently down by 7. Let's jump to the end of the game and see what happens. Philadelphia drive downfield and gives himself a 2-touchdown lead. We make it a 1-score game, but then Philadelphia would run down the rest of the clock, so we don't win a playoff game here in season 1 of the rebuild, but I still feel like we were really good. The Super Bowl goes to the Carolina Panthers, led by rookie number 1 overall pick Bryce Young, 28-14 over Cincinnati. The NFL MVP goes to Hendon Hooker. Coach of the year is Robert Saleh. Offensive player of the year is Jonathan Taylor. Defensive player of the year is Khalil Mack. Offensive rookie of the year is Hendon Hooker. And defensive rookie of the year is the defensive end, I believe from Kansas State, that I would absolutely butcher that name. His first name is Felix. I have that down. Before we jump into free agency, here is how the starting offense looks, and as you can see, Hendon Hooker is now a superstar dev trait following his MVP rookie season. The defensive side of the ball definitely does not look as strong going into free agency. We need a bit more help here. Whenever you use these updated rosters, this is sometimes something you're going to have to deal with, like the Eagles cutting Jalen Carter. Obviously will not happen after the first season, barring some sort of major catastrophe. There are not a lot of high-rated free agents in this class that are going to help us immediately, so I've only offered 3 contracts here, to defensive back Marcus Peters and William Jackson, and then backup tight end OJ Howard. He will obviously back up Sam Laporta. Let's see if any of these guys are going to sign here. Everyone has signed except OJ Howard, and we only landed William Jackson. It looks like the other corner decided to go someplace else. Since we lost out on Marcus Peters, he ended up signing with the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to go after Jordan Lewis, and obviously I still have OJ Howard here. Let's see if they're going to sign. They are both gone because they are now both Detroit Lions. Now we jump to the NFL draft, where the Pittsburgh Steelers hold the number 1 pick here. I am using an auto-generated class just in case you were curious, but let's see where the first 3 picks end up going. The Steelers are going to take defensive back Kyle Fulton out of Nevada. With pick number 2, the Bears are going to take a defensive end out of LSU. And with pick number 3, the Giants are going to take a quarterback out of USC. Now, obviously, we have the number 4 pick here in the draft because this is originally the Rams pick. We're actually going to trade back with this pick. We're going to trade with the Seahawks and fall back a couple spots and pick up a third rounder later in the draft. Now I'm curious as to who Seattle traded up for. There were a couple players here that I was looking at. Defensive tackle was not one of them. And then with pick 5, the Cardinals are going to take outside linebacker Ralph Stover out of South Carolina. That was one I was looking at though. With the 6th overall pick, I'm going to take outside linebacker James Briggs out of USF, and he will come in as a normal depth trait, not what I wanted to see. With the 20th overall pick here in the draft, I'm going to take defensive back Matt Patterson out of Florida State, and he will come in with a hidden depth trait. This one might be a pretty risky pick here, but I'm going to take wide receiver Luke Albert out of Oklahoma. He's 6'3", he's decently fast, but mostly I'm seeing the B deep route, and I'm really hoping that translates to a really good receiver here, so Luke Albert will also be a normal depth trait. With the 3rd pick in the 8th round, I'm going to take center Caleb Falk out of Vanderbilt with his A awareness and A pass block. Maybe he can play guard because our right guard isn't exactly the best in the league, and Falk will come in with a hidden depth trait. With the 20th pick in the 3rd round, I'm going to take defensive tackle Darrell Goodwill out of Minnesota, and he will come in as a normal depth trait as well. We have one more pick here in the 3rd round at pick 26. I imagine this is the trade that I did for Jared Goff. We're going to take defensive end Niles Boatwright. He has a day 3 projection, so there's a chance he's not going to be very good, but I like the B power move and the B tackle. He will also be a normal depth trait. If you've never seen any of my rebuilds, the way I do the draft is I pick the first 3 rounds and then I let the computer take over from there. Looking at the draft recap, we got a 74 overall outside linebacker, a 75 overall corner, a 73 overall receiver, a 70 overall center, then a 68 overall defensive tackle, and a 67 overall defensive end. Then the computer took over and took a 62 overall middle linebacker, a 65 overall left guard, a 65 overall right guard, and then a 69 overall corner. The number 1 corner in the draft was defensive back Kyle Fulton, who went number 1 at an 81 overall. Here is your starting offense for season 2 of this rebuild. The big change here on offense is right guard Caleb Falk, who we drafted as a center, obviously moved him over to guard. The defensive side of the ball did not change near as much as I would have really liked it to. We still need some help at middle linebacker. I don't think we're great there. We do have James Briggs, who we took with the 6th overall pick at starting outside linebacker now. And then we also added defensive back Patterson, who is currently a 76 overall. Now that I'm simulating season 2, last year we went 10-7 and got in as a wild card. I'm hoping this year we can get a little bit better and win the division. Clearly, this was not what I had in mind. The Bears win the division at 8-9. We finished with the 3rd offense in points per game, but the 26th defense. Quarterback Hendon Hooker had another amazing season, 5,200 yards, 42 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. On the ground, David Montgomery ran for 11 touchdowns, Jahmyr Gibbs ran for 7. Receiving, Amon-Ra St. Brown had 1,700 yards and 17 touchdowns. Jamison Williams got 8 touchdowns. Sam Laporta caught 9. Did our new receiver catch anything? It really doesn't look like it. No, he had no catches. That is not great. Alex Anzalone once again leads the team in tackles with 128. In sacks, James Briggs, our rookie, got 11.5. Maybe that was a good pick. Aiden Hutchinson got 8.5. Interceptions, William Jackson got 3. Matt Patterson got 2. And Jordan Lewis got 2. Mahomes throws for 5,700 yards. Looks like Goff is doing fine in Tampa Bay. In touchdowns, that also goes to Mahomes with 45, and interceptions goes to Mac Jones with 19. Running the ball goes to Jonathan Taylor, 1,800 yards, and 23 touchdowns goes to Joe Mixon. Receiving, Amon-Ra St. Brown had the most receptions. Never mind, he had 2nd most. Travis Kelce got 119. St. Brown did lead the league in yards, and in touchdowns, it goes to Chris Godwin with 19. This year's Super Bowl goes to the Denver Broncos, who won 35-25, led by quarterback Russell Wilson. The NFL MVP goes to Patrick Mahomes. Coach of the Year is Nathaniel Hackett. Offensive Player of the Year is Chris Godwin. Defensive Player of the Year is Myles Garrett. Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to a quarterback in Atlanta, and Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to an outside linebacker in Houston. At the re-signing period, the only big name that is trying to leave is CJ Gardner-Johnson. He has no re-sign interest, so I think we're going to let him walk. We'll see if we can get him back in free agency, but as of right now, I'm going to need a new strong safety. Before we actually jump into free agency though, quarterback Hendon Hooker and wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown are now both superstar X Factors. And Briggs got upgraded to a superstar depth trait, so he is no longer a normal depth trait. That is obviously pretty big for us. And it looks like Patterson is now our number 1 corner and is a star depth trait. The 5 contracts I am throwing out in the first stage of free agency are to defensive back Trayvon Diggs, defensive tackle DJ Reader, safety Jeremy Chin, middle linebacker Patrick Queen, and defensive back Bryce Hall. Let's see if any of these guys are going to sign. Most of them are gone. We got Diggs, Jeremy Chin, and Patrick Queen. We're just waiting on DJ Reader and Bryce Hall now. I have now upped the offer for both Reader and Bryce Hall, but we're still not the top interested team in either, but let's see if they decide to sign with us anyway. They are gone. We got Hall, but we do not get defensive tackle DJ Reader. There were no other defensive tackles really to add here, so I have decided to offer a contract to wide receiver Gabe Davis. We're going to see if he takes that. He is gone because he has signed with us. Looking around the league, I'm looking for a defensive tackle that I could actually trade for. Jonathan Allen is a 95 overall defensive tackle for Washington, but their backup Deron Payne, 87 overall, is a scheme fit and has a player tag of trade target young. And all they want is a second and a third round pick in this draft. I will do that for defensive tackle Deron Payne. We still, however, have our first round pick, and with that pick, I'm going to take defensive end Philip Sheldon out of Louisville, and he will come in with a hidden dev trait. Like I said, I don't usually make draft picks after the first 3 rounds, but I went ahead and advanced to our next pick just to see what was available and found left guard Dante Miles, who comes in with a hidden dev trait in the 5th round. I apologize, Dante Miles was in the 4th round. For whatever reason, I thought it simulated right past the 4th round. We ended up with a 73 overall defensive end, a 73 overall guard, a 66 overall outside linebacker, a 68 overall tight end, and a 67 overall running back. The best players in the draft were apparently outside linebacker Artez Bryant, who went number 2, and right guard Zach Winter, who went number 11. Before simulating the 3rd and final season of this rebuild, here is your starting offense. The big additions are going to be Miles at left guard, and then obviously wide receiver Gabe Davis. Obviously, I believe the defense looks a hell of a lot better than it had looked so far. We added guys like Patrick Queen, Briggs is now a superstar dev trait, we traded for DeAndre Payne, and we drafted Sheldon in the 1st round. Also signed guys like Trayvon Diggs and Bryce Hall. Before we simulate this final season, I always like to show what the team ratings look like. We have an 89 overall offense, an 84 overall defense, and an 86 overall team. Obviously, season 1, we go 10-7, get in as a wild card, get beat in the 1st round. I expected us to get better. We actually got worse in the next season. We finished 8-9, completely missed the playoffs. But I feel like we've improved this team a lot in this offseason, so I'm hoping we can get back on track and make the playoffs. Even with this team, we managed to go 8-9 and completely miss the playoffs. What the hell was this team's weakness? We had the number 8 offense in points per game, the number 18 defense in points per game. Hendon Hooker probably had the worst year as a pro that he has had so far, almost 5,400 yards and 43 touchdowns, but 24 interceptions. Running the ball, Montgomery ran for 12 touchdowns. Receiving, St. Brown 1,600 yards and 13 scores. Gabe Davis caught 5 touchdowns. Jameson Williams caught 5. Laporta caught 8. I don't know what is stopping this team here. Patrick Queen with 132 tackles. In sacks, Aiden Hutchinson got 15. Interceptions, Bryce Hall got 4. Hooker actually leads the league in passing yards with 5,300, and touchdowns goes to Joe Burrow with 48. Interceptions goes to Hooker with 24. Not much of a shock. Joe Mixon goes for 1,500 yards, leading the league. Touchdowns goes to A.J. Dillon with 19 in Arizona. Receiving, Cooper Kupp, insane numbers yet again. 122 catches, 1,800 yards, and 20 touchdowns. This Super Bowl goes to the Cincinnati Bengals, 35-28, led by MVP Joe Burrow. NFL MVP goes to Lamar Jackson. Coach of the Year is Doug Peterson. Offensive Player of the Year is Cooper Kupp. Defensive Player of the Year is TJ Watt. Offensive Rookie of the Year is a quarterback for Philadelphia. And Defensive Rookie of the Year is a middle linebacker for the Dolphins. Well, as good as we have built this team, I have no idea what could be holding the team back. We get Hendon Hooker to an 86 overall superstar X Factor, but we fail to meet our goal of winning a Super Bowl within 3 seasons. We actually fail to even win a playoff game. Now, like I said at the beginning, winning a Super Bowl within 3 seasons, starting with a rookie quarterback, is always going to be a challenge, but I really felt like this team was good enough to do it. Don't know what held them back, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you guys next time.